Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, we love seeing you every Thursday night here on Facebook or YouTube land. The chats are always great. If not, we love seeing the chat replays the next day or anytime thereafter, really, or on your favorite podcasting app. Let's see, you know me. My name is John Ruark. I'm a past master of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. Next up for his introduction, Joe Martinez. How's it going, Joe?
Hello there, Joe Martinez. I am broadcasting from the kind of crispy San Francisco Bay. Yeah, it's kind of chilly. I don't like it. But yeah, Joe Martinez, currently Worshipful Master of Manassas Lodge number 182 in Manassas, Virginia, member of a bajillion other things, and super jazzed to be here.
Super jazzed to have you here. Robert Johnson, how are you?
Aw.
Hey, I'm super jazzed to be on as well. I'm hanging out in Joe Martinez's office, which is kind of cool.
That's my office.
Yeah, he's out of town, and I decided that I had to come by and keep an eye on all of his toys. So,
like, does his wife know
Thank
that
you.
you're there? I mean, it's a little sketchy.
yeah, it's a
fed
little
him.
scary. She fed me. Yeah, I had spaghetti and meatballs. So good.
Nice.
So yeah, past Master Waukegan 78, current sitting secretary at Space Novum 1183, premier education lodge in the state of Illinois, and happy to be here with amongst prolific brethren.
Awesome. Speaking of prolific brethren, let's introduce our next brethren, which is one of our guests for tonight. So we'll start with, let's see, while they're turning around, we've got Brother David Bella. How are you tonight?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm David Bella. I am the sitting worshipful master of Alexandria-Washington Lodge number 22, and we just finished up our February stated. So thanks for the late addition.
You could have just said you dressed up for us, but I'll allow it. So thank you very much for coming on, a rush notice, not short notice, but a rush to leave good lodge work, as well as your senior warden. Right here. So our senior warden is Alan Hamilton, correct?
That's correct. Hi, brothers. How are you? And unlike Worshipful Bella, I did dress up just for you guys. So there you go.
That's how you
Look great.
become our favorite.
Just for you.
Flattery will get you.
But thank you all for having us. We really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Awesome. Super cool. All right. So again, thanks for coming straight from Lodge. But before we get into that, we'll pay some bills. Want to give a special shout out to the patrons who support the show. You guys are awesome for keeping the show going for like our 9th year already. That's kind of amazing. So thank you all for helping that 9 years of Masonic education go strong. If you want to continue that journey with us, head over to patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable and chip in a few bucks. You can join our little Facebook group and nerd out about your favorite book of the week or, Masonic advice and all that fun stuff. So we'll see you over there. And the tarot card of the week, since Joe doesn't always come, strapped when he goes to travel, I thought this week it would be fun to have Robert dig through Joe's bookshelf to find a tarot card.
But I didn't. I just reached in my bag because I always travel with. I got a little travel side.
Have tarot will travel. Look at that.
I don't have a cool leather tarot travel case. So
then look, you know a guy. I guess I'll just make you a few. So this week, all right. I'm just gonna top card.
Wait for it.
7 of Swords.
Okay.
Let's go. There we go. How about that? There.
You could go a little closer. That's the dude running away with some swords, leaving a few in the ground.
Yeah, it's like part success.
It's getting away with something. Betrayal.
Yeah.
It's
Deception.
It's the win at all costs kind of card. So
Yeah, you want to
my
look
guy.
at it also not. If you want to take it on a positive spin, it's don't let things get in your way, right? Like don't forget the stuff behind you, get more, all that.
go for it. Yeah, it is an action-oriented card for sure. So that's how you should treat your
And
week,
this-
right?
Yeah, this is the Hanson Roberts deck. So if you guys wanted
Nice. Like the band, Hanson.
it. Yeah, Mary Hanson Robert. She pretty cool artist. The cards remind me of David the Gnome.
Wow, that was a throwback to my childhood.
Me too, buddy.
Very
Me
good.
too.
Very good. For all you youngsters, Google it. I'm sure there's some videos on YouTube. Okay. All right, so let's get into this week's topic. We're going to talk about the George Washington National Masonic Memorial. They threw the national word somewhere in the middle a couple of years ago because it became a national landmark. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. It's kind of in the news this month too because there's kind of a big thing going on. What's going on, gentlemen? What's the big news? Why are we talking about it in February of 2023?
Well, it's the 100th anniversary of the cornerstone laying of this building. So, in 1923, Masons from all over the country, we're talking 10, 15,000 Masons, came to Alexandria to celebrate our first president, our best known member, and local citizen of Alexandria. And so this year marks the 100th anniversary, and so we're looking forward to welcoming brethren from all over the nation here in a couple days to reenact everything and enjoy what Masonry is all about, right? Fellowship and hospitality. So it's going to be a fun week, and hopefully we can see some smiling faces that we see tonight at the festivities.
Brother Allen, anything to add?
No, I'll just repeat and echo what Worshipful Bella said. But we've as many of you have, we've had the privilege of traveling and seeing a lot of Masonic buildings. The Masonic Temple in Detroit, as well as the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. And I think what makes this building so unique is that it was built for and by Masons from around the country. And so we, along with the Memorial Association, the Grand Lodge of Virginia, and the Conference of Grand Masters, we're looking forward to welcoming Masons from around the country again, and even the world, to Alexandria to celebrate this.
That's super cool. All right, so 100 years. So what's been going on? Like, can one of you tell us a little bit about the history of the memorial itself? Kind of like how this all came to be. I mean, we don't need the. I know that you are fortunate enough to be members of the lodge that actually meets there, so that's kind of cool. But tell us about the building first to kind of get things started, and then we'll talk about AW22.
Sure. So, I mean, I guess it all starts with George Washington, right? I mean, he was the charter master. He was a member of the lodge.
So he was a Mason? He was a Freemason?
George Washington, yes, he was a Freemason.
Write that down, Joe. Write that down.
I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yep. So we're all about George Washington here in this lodge, but modern interpretations on what Washington means to men today, right? So we're not just history buffs spouting off Washington facts, even though we can definitely do that and go toe to toe on the history aspect. We're really excited about what Washington means in a modern context and in a Masonic context, about the virtues he lived that are taught in Masonic lodges today, and how George Washington fit that mold. So it started with him, and in 1910 and 11, the lodge got together and asked the Grand Lodges of the country to form the Memorial Association, and they got together, and about a decade later, they laid the cornerstone of this great building. So I'm sure Brother Allen can talk about a little bit more recent history. What you got, Allen?
Yeah, and just to kind of build on what Worshipful Bell already said, it's not just a museum or a building on a hill or a community event center, but it's a living, breathing Masonic building. You know, we have AW. This is our historic home, and we meet here every second Thursday of every month as for our state communication. But we're here every Thursdays and every Saturday, pretty much, doing catechism school, ritual work, and it's home to 2 other Blue Lodges as well. We have AJ 120, and then a research lodge as well. So
AJ stands for
Andrew Jackson Lodge. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's living, breathing, and carrying on the legacy of our illustrious brother, George Washington.
Yeah, I actually got a live stream view of the memorial here. So there we go. There's a live picture of that. You can see a couple cars in the foreground. Quite a busy event.
It looks taller in person.
It is taller in person.
Yeah, that's good.
But for those listening on the podcast, this is an incomplete picture of the memorial, actually taken at the laying of the cornerstone on November 1st, 1923. So here's just one of many historical pictures of the memorial. So pretty cool to see that then, and then where it is today.
Right. And so, you know, the cornerstone was laid in 1923, and in 1932, the building was dedicated, and in the 40s is when the Masonic lodges started to move in, right? And, you know, lodges from Alexandria, Northern Virginia, and it just, the circle radiates out, right? And it's truly a national memorial funded and maintained and supported by brethren and from all over the country and, you know, internationally too. So it's really a kind of a unique and singular Masonic edifice in the Masonic world.
Yeah, I found it interesting to note that looking at most of the grand jurisdictions in the United States, not all, but most, actually take a portion of their, you know, their annual proceeds or their revenue and actually give that to the memorial. So it truly is something that is probably, you know, a portion of every Mason in the United States to some small degree. So when you write that dues check at the end of every year, at least consider a couple pennies of that are going to support this historic landmark.
I have a question.
Well, isn't it a whole dollar?
Is it a whole dollar? Is it really?
Isn't it? Yeah, no, I'm being serious. Like, I know in Virginia, $1 of dues every year goes to the memorial. I don't know if that's some big agreement, and maybe the brothers from AW can expand on that. But I know in Virginia, and they tell you $1 of your dues goes to the memorial every single year.
In Illinois, we don't do that. It's actually $5
Ooh,
for
$5.
every Master Mason. Well, for every Master Mason raised. So it's not like.
So that's like $4.
They don't get money. Yeah, it's like $4 every year.
They have to prorate it.
I have a question about the funding. Since it is a national Masonic memorial, it's a national historical site, do they, or is there any tax money, like tax funding? Does anything go to help preserve the memorial?
In terms of, you know, government assistance, you know, we've never taken any taxpayer dollars, like you said. It's all been through the generosity of the brothers from all over the country, and they're really starting to expand their scope to international too. So shout out to everybody that lives outside of the borders of America that support, you know, the memorial and come and enjoy the spaces that it provides. Yeah.
Well, that's good, because taxation is theft.
Nice.
No, it's really evident. You know, we're here, you know, every week, right? And you see, we're practicing in lodge room, or you're going in the catechism, or we're just hanging out, working on catechism instruction. But you see tours come around all the time, and these brothers from around the country come in. We welcome them in the lodge room. We chat with them, get to know them, and it's just as much as their building, just as much as it is ours. And you know, like we just want to make sure that they enjoy it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just tonight, right? At the very end, a brother from South Carolina by way of Chile, you know, got up and spoke and just said how much he enjoyed the building. So, yeah, I mean, if you can't make it, you know, in the next week to come join us in the festivities, the Cornerstone Laying, we're up here every Thursday and every Saturday morning. So pop your head in, just say hey, and we'll talk Masonic, whatever you want to talk about, either Washington, esotericism, we got it covered. So, yeah, it's truly a hodgepodge of Masonic ideas. Yeah.
Ooh.
So tell us about AW22 then. While we got you here, I mean, I think you led with the punchline, right? That it was George Washington's Masonic Lodge. So tell us a little bit about the history of that, and then why are you guys so special that you get to actually hang out in the memorial?
I don't know. What do you think, Alan? You want to take that one first?
Yeah, I'll let you take it, Worshipful Bella. You got it.
Man, punt
Pull
back
and
over the
rank.
fence.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, holy moly.
Return.
So yeah, Alexandria-Washington Lodge, it's really kind of interesting. We're here right outside Washington, D.C., across the river from D.C. in Virginia. But originally we were a Pennsylvania lodge, and we just celebrated our 240th birthday this month, right? So this was kind of a birthday stated for us. So we were a Pennsylvania lodge for 5 years until we decided that we wanted to be a Virginia lodge, I guess. And so at that time in 1788, we asked George Washington, who was, the members of the lodge, he was their neighbor, his trading partner, drinking buddy. So, Washington was a natural fit for the charter mastership, right? So he, I was telling somebody earlier this week, was he, when he was worshipful master, was he up here every Thursday and Saturday like Alan and I? Definitely not, right? He was a super busy guy, especially if you look at when he was master of the lodge. He was also, second half of his term, he was president of the United States. So there's no way that he was, here every Thursday and Saturday. But he knew what he was doing by, yeah, I know, right? But yeah, I mean, that's not what Masonry is about, though. Sitting in meetings, it's about living the ideas of what Masonry espouses, and I think Washington really fulfilled his duty on that front. Did I miss anything, Alan? What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think it's evident. I mean, one of the things that always sticks out to me in relation to Washington Freemasonry, and we could talk for days about this, but one of the things that he was always working his whole life for was self-improvement, and that's a tenet of Freemasonry, that we work so hard to improve ourselves. And one of his biggest insecurities was that he wasn't formally educated, but he worked his entire life to educate himself and to improve himself and subdue his passions. And so he's always been a role model for the men of our lodge, and certainly for me as well.
You guys mentioned in talking about this a little bit that you've moved beyond this kind of platitude of George Washington being a Mason. And so you talked about it in terms of modern values and things. And not to I would ask that you don't dive into the rules of civility, because that's just a handwriting exercise.
Ha!
But I am curious for your genuine feeling. What are the practical lessons that you think Masons today can take from Washington? Like how do you what does that mean for you? I'm just curious.
That's good. Yeah, like no kidding.
Yeah, that's a great prompt. The first thing that pops into my head is service to community and country. And so Washington was really a city father of Alexandria, where I've lived for the last 7 years, and I call myself an Alexandrian, right? It's my home. He was, a rector, a benefactor, of Christ Church. He funded the first firehouse in the city of Alexandria, the Friendship Firehouse. And he helped set up a school that was kind of revolutionary for its time, in that it wasn't just for boys; it was for widowed girls too. So that the first thing that pops out to me is his service to his community. Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah, and I would say
both
the same
emulating.
thing that David did as well. I think one thing that personally, he if you read about him when he was younger, he had a hard temper. He was that flared up all the time, and so especially now, given the climate, just everything is so polarized in the world. Um, it's very easy to let your passions flare up, and Washington worked extremely hard to keep those within due bounds. And I think, um, as a practical standpoint, I think that's something I always try to keep in the back of my mind as well.
Good, Joe.
Yeah, I was just listening to the answers and I thought they were great. And just to chime in on that, because I know I throw a lot of GW jokes out there, and I do, and I
Shade.
apologize for that. Yes, I throw shade. And Brother David actually started with it, and it's a fantastic point. Like, you'll hear people say that, well, George Washington was master, but he never went to a stated meeting. It's like, and then you just touched on it, Brother David. Well, he was busy creating a country, so those take up time, and people seem to forget that. But I think, to both of your points, it gets back to the self-improvement aspect of it, because if you look at younger George Washington, he was kind of a mess, during during his first military campaigns when he was young. He was not a good commander, not effective, did bad things when the Revolutionary War started. It was very much learn as you go, but by the end of it, by the time he becomes president, you see this transformed individual, when it comes to society and it comes to government, and it comes to, creating a nation based on human values. You do see, if you read early George Washington and you read later George Washington, you do see this transformation in the man, which you don't see very often in a lot of people. You know what I mean? People that actually learn from their mistakes and make note of it and say, well, that was dumb and I'm not doing that again, and I'm going to pivot in the way that will hopefully have better outcomes. So I think that's, he really did live it, to both of your brothers' points. Um, but we only focus on the statue or the portrait George Washington, and not earlier George Washington, which was, he was really a different human being at that time.
Yeah.
Agree? I'll take that as a yes.
Hopefully it's a
Yeah,
yes. If it's a no, we can keep talking.
yeah, no, I mean, you're right, right? I mean, Washington didn't have a lot of great prospects as a young man. I mean, really his biggest stroke of luck in life was that people kind of in front of him died, right? And so he had to grow up really quickly. And I think he did that by learning from his mistakes, learning from, men he looked up to, like his half brother Lawrence. And the Fairfax family, but he, I think that's kind of also has a Masonic tinge to it, right? I mean, that's something that I really enjoy is coming, and I know the grumpy past masters are grumpy past masters, but the good side of them too, they have a lot of great knowledge and a lot of great just life experience that you can't get by going to your rec soccer league or something like that, right? I mean, it's a great way to meet people of diverse backgrounds, and kind of in the spirit of what Washington did as a young man to get tutored by and mentored by older men. That's one of my great things about Masonry, or my lodge at least, that I really enjoy. So, yeah.
Agreed.
That's a super interesting touch point. And sorry, John, I was going to chime in on that because Brother David
Please.
has made an excellent point. And I've been to AW22, so I absolutely agree with everything that Brother David said. And we've all been to lodges where you don't have the benefit of that diversity, shall we say, right? So you get a little different of a tinge to the masonry and the experience that's being imparted to you. But I think that, AW22 is one of those exceptions where it's like, wow, I see a little bit of everything and I'm getting a whole lot of experience and a whole lot of opinions of people that have completely different backgrounds, which you don't see in other parts of the country and in other parts of the world. with few exceptions. So I think that is a plus.
Yeah.
Can I ask you guys actually, why? Like you said in the 40s, lodges started meeting there, and I'm curious which lodges actually started meeting at the National Masonic Memorial, and then I have a follow up after that.
Yeah, so I think AW, Alexandria-Washington, moved in first. So this lodge room, the one that's like literally right down there, was the first one furnished and finished in the building. I mean, this building has been under constant improvement. I mean, probably, you could take a symbolic lesson there, right? But the building has been under constant improvement basically since it was dedicated in the 30s. So we moved in here in the 40s, and then Andrew Jackson Lodge in the North Room, Vice President Nixon at the time, and not a Mason, Vice President Nixon came and dedicated the North Room about a decade later, and I think that's when Andrew Jackson started moving in, and the Knights Templar, and I think that's the original Alexandria Scottish Rite location in the 50s. So the 40s and 50s, to your answer.
Why not?
Right.
Why not all of them? Why not all the local lodges?
It is interesting, right? Because with this, I think a little bit about UGLE and how they talk about 400 lodges meeting there that all have quarterly meetings. But to just roll back, I was curious that such a prolific lodge, right? Like as the ones that meet in the building, Alexandria-Washington 22. So was there a merger? Like two lodges came together, and if so, like that just seems interesting that a prolific lodge would allow a merger, But I'm just curious.
Well, there was no merger. I think when we initially were chartered with Pennsylvania in 1783, we were Alexandria Lodge, right? And so when George Washington went in 1788, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, there was no merger. We just were allowed to add Washington number 22 on our name, and then we even still have the original charter permitting that with George Washington's signature.
Yep,
Don't lose that.
He died. Right. So Washington died in 1799, and the lodge changed its name in 1802 to revere and memorialize Washington.
That's really cool. Thanks for clearing that up. I kept thinking there was like some merger of Alexandria Lodge and Washington Lodge, and then but no, this is really cool.
That makes sense.
Yeah. After the death, you guys immortalized it. That's awesome.
I have another question. So, where did AW22 meet before the memorial was built?
Yeah, so in George Washington's time, we didn't have a home. Right, the 1780s, I think it was pretty typical for lodges to meet in taverns, and so we met in taverns throughout the city. And I'd invite everyone to our St. John's Day Table Lodge, which occurs in Gadsby's Tavern, which is one of the taverns that we met in. So we met in taverns until I think it was early 1800s, like 1802 time frame. Then we moved into a room above City Hall, and we met there until the 40s, so 1802 to 1940s. And I've been back in that room in Alexandria City Hall, and it is a boring conference room. So look at what they did to my boy, sort of a thing. It's but
now
we
is
have a
that,
replica lodge.
I was about to ask, is that the lodge room that's recreated in the museum-y part?
Yeah, so the idea was when we moved into this building for future generations like myself and Alan and the guys that are going through the chairs and the degrees right now, we're never going to experience what it was like to sit in the original lodge room in City Hall. So they wanted to recreate that feel and aesthetic. So all the original furniture is there, including all the artifacts that we had on display, lots of Washington stuff, and just a lot of early American history that hangs on the walls in the replica lodge room.
Yeah, it's a cool room.
So tell us a little bit
And
about the building, though, or was there something else you wanted to add, Joe? No. Okay.
no, you may
Alan,
continue.
I cut someone off. Moving on. Let's switch over to the building because the building's pretty cool. Of course, it's been around for 100 years, but it's up on top Shooters Hill, so it's this one of the highest points in this relatively low, flat marshland, swamp that Washington D.C. used to be. So it definitely sticks out. You can see it from just about anywhere in the city, and here's a picture of it as it kind of looks today. Modeled after, is it true? It's modeled after like the lighthouse at Alexandria.
Yeah, so I'll take this one, Alan. So, yes, and it was actually originally designed after the lighthouse at Osha, which is the
Ah,
ancient Roman seaport. So, the architect of the memorial, he studied in Italy and he saw these frescoes of what the lighthouse at Osha looked like. And when he was an older man, he got this contract to build this great building, and he designed it after Lighthouse at Osha, which was a kind of riff off of the original lighthouse at Alexandria. Yeah. Um, I got one more thing. You said Shooters Hill, which I think Shooters Hill is just like a really cool piece of history too. Like the things that have
oh yeah.
happened on this hill. So Washington actually dined here. There's a plantation here. He logged in his diary that he had dinner here with the family that owned the plantation. You fast forward a couple hundred years, the Wright brothers, like this was their turnaround point to prove to the army that they could, use planes for military use.
Huh.
So that, and they sold the first plane that flew over this hill. Like, just crazy stuff. Native Americans have been, on this hill for thousands and thousands of years. So, and it was a Civil War fort too. So Shooters Hill itself is just a really cool story, and I'm sure Alan has some good tidbits about the memorial too.
Yeah, in fact, David, you mentioned the fort. When your listeners come and visit the memorial, if you go to the top, you can actually see the footprint of that fort.
Nice. Yeah, I love that kind of
Yeah.
stuff when like history is vertically sliced, right? Because so many things happen at this like one geographic location, but there's a lot of history that weaves in and
Had
out
a
over time.
question. Had a question about the cornerstone laying. So, Calvin Coolidge, the POTUS, assisted with the cornerstone laying. Is that true?
Yeah. So
And he's not a
who was the
Mason, which
president
is
before
interesting.
him? Yeah. Who was the president before him? Do y'all know?
To the
Somebody can
Google.
Google it.
Yeah.
But so the former president was a Mason actually, and he died in office. And so
Mm.
Calvin Coolidge, it was on his schedule, and everyone was looking to him was like, "Well, the president's supposed to lay the cornerstone of this building. Like,
It was,
you're the next guy
yeah, it
up,"
was
sort of
Harding.
thing. So yeah, Harding, he died in office, right? So Coolidge was the last man standing, and he was like, "All right, well, I guess I'll hang out with all these Masons." But um, Chief Justice Taft, who had retired out of the presidency and was the Supreme Court justice, uh, he also attended, and he was a Mason and a big benefactor and a big reason that the association flourished like it did. Kind
Cool.
of fun story.
Yeah. No, I say love those little facts like that. That's awesome.
You want to hear an awesome little fact that Brother David's going to freak when I say it? So I've sat in that lodge room, and the very first time I went to that lodge room and I sat in lodge at AW22, one of the older brothers came up to me and looked, and I didn't know who he was, walked up to me and said, "Hey, brother, if you're sitting on the sidelines, don't whisper." And I said, "Okay." I don't know what he's talking about. So as sure as the sky is blue, I'm sitting on the sidelines. My back is to the wall, and they've got decent seating, a lot of seating, and I'm sitting on the wall, and I'm staring across the way, and there's two older brothers, and they're whispering. And I'm not kidding. Yeah, I hear the laughing now. So that room is so acoustically interesting that you can have brothers, and what is that, like 40 feet apart, right? Between the sidelines. these two brothers
Yeah.
were whispering, and everybody on my row could hear everything they were saying clear as day. And they were like whispering really softly. But the way the room is acoustically made, I don't know if y'all did that on purpose or what, but yeah, we heard everything that they did not want everybody to hear as clear as me talking to you right now. And I was like, wow. And every time I've gone back since then, I was like, okay, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything, because the whole
Which was
room will
really
hear
hard
you.
for you, actually. So that's.
I know, it's impossible to not speak. So yeah.
Joe, do you remember
Joe,
another
also
time?
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to give you a little bit. All the junior wardens have a lot of fun with the gavels because of that, because it just reverberates throughout the room.
Yeah,
No,
you were
I
saying,
was
Brother
going to
David?
say, Joe. Yeah, do you remember the time? This is one of my early Masonic memories. Do you remember the time that Mark Underwood asked you to do the closing charge of the Master Mason degree? I thought that was such a cool touch. I've never seen that done before or after.
It
Right?
was
He
it was
asked you
very
to do the
awesome.
closing charge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it was absolutely wonderful, and it was actually before I had ever become master. Um, and I've known Brother Mark for a very long time. And yeah, I went to visit the lodge, and he asked me to do the closing charge, and it was serene. I mean, the whole experience in that room. I mean, it is definitely should be on every Mason's bucket list to go sit in lodge at AW22, because it's really a profound experience. Especially sitting around that altar and you see the dates. And it's been a little bit since I've been there, but you have the date you were chartered in Pennsylvania and the date you were chartered in Virginia on that really big altar cloth, and just the whole room itself. It's an amazing experience. So yeah, that was quite a while ago. I think I had more hair back then, but yeah, thank you for remembering that.
So let's shift gears now. So let's talk about what's going on. Usually we have the big annual event is right around George Washington's birthday. So there's always a big birthday ball that goes on, but you can't let any good congregation of Masons go to waste, because here we have the anniversary this year of the Cornerstone event, and so there's going to be a lot of fun things to do, right? I'm a little disappointed as a historian that they decided to not have it on the actual date, like November 1st, 2023, because it would be too cold in Washington, D.C., so they decided to have it in February in Washington, D.C., which is
Where
also
it's colder.
just as cold, if not colder, right? But I think I know where they were going, trying to capitalize on George Washington's birthday. So tell us what is going on this month, and how do people find out how to get there, what to do, what lapel pins to bring, all that good stuff.
All right. Well, I guess I'll hit it. So to your question about why February. So
Why February?
the Conference of Grand Masters of North America originally met here every year, but now they move around the nation, right? And Canada and Mexico too. So they're in town, and they wanted to coincide with the Conference of Grand Masters. And so each Grand Master is bringing hopefully busloads and busloads of Masons from their states to come celebrate their building, right? A building that's truly national in scope.
So if you can actually move historical anniversaries if you're a grandmaster. Got it.
Right.
They can,
Right.
yes.
All right.
It's called an edict.
Therefore, I declare we're having it on the state.
Yes.
So what types of events are we going to have coming up?
There's we have several. So of course, the Cornerstone and the Conference Grandmaster is going to be very Grandmaster focused in Crystal City, not just right up the road. But we wanted to also have something for the rank and file everyday Mason, and so AW is going to be hosting a series of events throughout in conjunction with that in support of the memorial, which you can also find on our website at aw22.org. At the menu tab, there's a George Washington Masonic National Memorial 2023 tab that outlines all the events, both the Memorial Association events as well as Grandmaster events. And so I know, David, you may want to speak more about this, but we'll also be having a welcome communication on that Friday, the 17th, here at the Memorial in the theater, and that's going to be open to Masons, and we'll have the official visit of the Grand Master of the Commonwealth of Virginia will be attending and then the next day we'll have a Master Mason's degree here in our lodge room, and we'll be raising one of our brothers to the sublime degree of Master Mason. And in addition to that, there's also the parade on the following Monday, where they're actually altering the parade route this year. Instead of kind of going closer to the water, they're actually going to march up. The parade's actually going to go up King Street to the Memorial and stop at the foot of the building. And so we're looking forward to it. I know there's going to be thousands of Masons in Alexandria. So we hope that your listeners and you all will be there and celebrate this once in a lifetime, once in a generation really, Masonic event, and just kind of showcase Masonry as a day.
Thank you. Yeah, worshipful. You want anything to add to that?
Yeah, like Alan said, I mean, we want to just demonstrate what it's all about, and that's, getting together with brethren from all over the country at our Friday night, welcome communication, where we receive the Grand Master Masons. So we're hoping that brethren from all over the nation come together, hang out. We're going to have a nice reception in Memorial Hall, in the big, hall with the statue, and then we're going to go into the theater and have, 200 maybe Masons show up. And then, the next morning, right, we're going to actually raise a candidate to raise a brother, a fellow craft to the sublime degree of Master Mason, right? So, give people a taste of what Virginia is about and what, Masonry is all about. And then, Wednesday, we're going down to Mount Vernon to lay a wreath at George Washington's tomb, and then we're actually going to have a stated there on the grounds of Mount Vernon, and we're going to have some distinguished guests come and speak as the keynote. So it's going to be just a great week of Masonry, right? And I hope brothers from all over America can come out and enjoy it with us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that you gave a shout out to your lodge website, because it's much more detailed than what's on the official gwmemorial.org website. Because, you could say, well, between the 17th and 19th, if you want, you can schedule a tour. Okay, but what else is there to do? And there's a lot more to do on your website, receptions and communications and degrees, in addition to everything else. So I'm really glad that you posted all that. Again, the website's aw22.org if you wanted to check that schedule out. Joe.
Yeah, I just saw that schedule, and I know I signed my lodge up for a bunch of stuff. Little plug to Amity, right? Because Brother David, you guys are using Amity for a lot of that stuff to register people.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, so two things with Amity is we partnered with them to send a postcard to every lodge in America and say, hey, come out. We come out and support. We spent, quite a hefty sum to get these out to, every single lodge in America, Prince Hall, whatever, it doesn't matter. We send an invite to every lodge in America. So that's one great benefit. And the second one is tracking. So we want to make sure that, people that RSVP and do the right thing and help us out by, helping us get a feel for how much food to get, how many seats we need, things like that. So be sure to register through Amity, and they've been great partners. So yeah, bravo.
Yes, kudos to being obsessive compulsive about people RSVPing to things. I am a firm believer in that. But I did have a question based on the schedule. So it said on the 19th there was a wreath laying at Most Worshipful Callahan's grave. Who is that, for people who don't know?
So, I know you guys kind of hit us up earlier about being all about Washington, right? So, and we fast forward a century to Charles Callahan, who was the senior warden of the lodge, and he went out and he said, you know what? I'm tired of everybody just talking about things, right? About what we're going to do. I'm going to put my money down and I'm going to buy plots of land on Shooters Hill to kickstart and put a spark in building this memorial and actually getting this thing going. So there's no other man that really deserves any more credit than Most Worshipful Callahan, who's past master of lodge, went on to become Grand Master of Virginia, and just again he was a city father of Alexandria, right? He served the city for 4 decades as like the tax guru, tax collector, I guess, city revenue agent, I think is the title, but just a really great brother who really exemplified what Masonry is all about. So we're going to go honor him and make sure that he's not forgotten in a weekend filled with pageantry about Washington. So also a
That's
really,
awesome.
really
Yeah,
important
that's
guy.
fantastic. And where is his grave?
It is at a local cemetery here in Alexandria. So we're going to assemble at the Alexandria National Cemetery. It's a military cemetery. We're going to give a little speech, and then we're going to process over to, I think it's Trinity Methodist Cemetery, where he's buried right next to his best friend, Elmer Timberman, who was past Grand Master of Virginia, and obviously he is the namesake of a lodge here in Northern Virginia too. So they were best buds. They were Grand Masters together, and they're buried feet apart from each other. So that's kind of a cool story too, right?
BFFs.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. I'm looking forward to it. In February at AW, it's always super jam packed, but this year's to the max. So I'm looking forward to hosting everybody and doing great things and shaking a lot of hands. But man, I tell you, I'm looking forward to kicking up my feet and just getting back to being a normal lodge after this.
So yeah, you'll find that you'll get a lot more gray in your hair and beard after this month.
Or you will go bald.
Being
That
Worshipful
happens.
Master is hard enough. Being Worshipful Master of AW22 in February on a 100-year anniversary is nothing to shake a stick at. Robert?
No, I don't know.
I don't know. I saw you react to that. I thought that was.
No, I was just.
He was literally going gray before our eyes. Yes.
I'm going gray thinking about planning something like this.
Yeah, right?
I don't like Waukegan 78 had a 150, and we got told 2 weeks before the event the Grand Master was coming up to rededicate,
So
and I was like, okay.
Did you buy an extra pack of hot dogs to boil or something?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, I bought an extra pack. No, dude, come on. Little Caesars, hot and ready, baby.
Sloppy Joe's.
Hot and
That's a
ready.
Sloppy Joe night. Special occasion.
That's what Art de Hoyos likes is Sloppy Joe's.
Sloppy Joe's.
Dude, yes.
Made them
I just
extra
cannot
sloppy for
imagine
you.
the stress involved with this. So you all have my sympathy, my empathy here is with you.
Yep.
And you guys are doing the Lord's work. So, congrats.
Thank you so much. But I think I feel comfortable speaking on behalf of David when I say that, the members of our lodge have really stepped up and come together. Not just our lodge, but other lodges in the district and the Commonwealth have stepped up, supported, planned. We have a huge group building float. So there's a myriad of different things, and we could sit here, but you really feel appreciation from the members of the lodge that are really putting a lot of work in pulling this together.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yep. It's a team effort, and great team that we have here at AW, and it's like the beehive, right? And who can best work and best agree. So, yeah, it's been a fun ride. I'll tell you that.
Remember, there's no I in team, but there is an ME for me. So.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, this has been a great conversation. I'm sure we could go deeper in just about every area we talked about tonight. But wanted to keep it high level, give you guys the floor to share all the good news about all the hard work that your lodge has been doing this year, celebrating a historic and momentous anniversary, just to be in the thick of all of the events that are happening in February in the Alexandria, Northern Virginia area. It's such an honor to be in the middle of all that, and so I'm really again to double down on what Robert said. Like, kudos to you guys for just being up there with it in the thick of the storm. February's going to fly by, and you're going to wonder where it all went. But many brethren from around the world are going to be there with you every step of the way. Very cool.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
This has been great.
Yeah.
All All right, let's hand it over to the final question of the day. We'll save you two guys for last, and so we'll head over to Joe because Joe never gets to go before Robert. The final
Thank
question.
you.
The final question of the day is, how do you feel about Robert touching all your toys while you're gone on the other side of the country?
So there are so few people that I would trust to be in my sanctum sanctorum of my home. And Robert is one of the few people who I know will not steal any of my crap or rifle through my things. So I'm super good with it. But yeah, no, this was a great episode. It was fun it's cool because for me it's a local aspect, and
Mm-hmm.
hung out with the brothers there. I've talked Sean's ear off, until it's fallen off. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much looking forward to my lodge is participating. We're gonna be there. We're gonna be at the Cornerstone reenactment. Yeah, it's I'm super jazzed for it, and I'm super thankful that it's not me being in charge of it. So, brother David, kudos to you, man. Yeah, it was a big job,
Great
and
stuff.
yeah, we'll see how great you are after. But yeah, kudos. I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to meeting so many brothers from across the country. It's gonna be a fun day. So
Awesome. All right, heading over to Robert. Any final thoughts on the memorial in general or the anniversary in particular?
Number one, while you were talking, my computer was like listening to you for whatever reason, and it wrote it into the AI, and it said, "How do you feel about Robert touching all your toys or whatever?" And I laughed, and I just hit enter to see what it would say, and it said, "I feel uncomfortable with Robert touching all my toys." I appreciate, I appreciate that he's trying to be friendly and helpful, but it is my space, and I would like to keep my toys private.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So good. Anyway, I would say this is awesome. I love the history of the building. I think it's really cool. I love that you guys were able to share a little bit about the premier lodges that meet there. And I was really ecstatic when I got to go to AW22 many years ago. And I sat, and I was one of 3 whole visitors on an entered apprentice degree. And it was a pretty rad experience. We went to dinner afterwards. The brothers were fantastic. So, for anybody out there who wants to go visit AW22, Yelp gives them a big recommend. Thanks, guys. This was great. Thank you for fielding and being so honest with some of the questions that we asked. And yeah, it's great. Thanks.
Give them 5 stars on Yelp. You get a free taco.
Yeah, I give you five stars on Yelp, and also I have to say that I got one of those Amity postcards, and I was like, "Oh, this is the coolest thing ever!" It's like I figured you guys sent them out to everybody, and that's really cool that you did. So I hope you guys have thousands of representatives.
It's an admirable goal. All right, so brethren, final thoughts from you guys from sharing all this wealth of knowledge. I do want to thank you for that. So, anything else you wanted to share before you head out?
No, thank you guys for having us. It's truly a privilege to be on here and talk about our lodge, the building, and then our brother George Washington as well. I would just remind everyone, go to the website. Be sure to register on Amity to RSVP for the events. That'll guarantee your spot. So be sure to do that. But again, we're looking forward to welcoming brothers from all over the country, both around the world as well, to Virginia, showcase Virginia Masonry, but also tell the story of this building.
Thank you, Brother Allen. Brother David?
Yeah, great comments, Alan. Like you said, check out the website. Hope you can make it and kind of see what a lodge with a lot of history and legacy is about in a modern context. So Alan and I are both in our 30s. We have a young officer line with a great bench of past masters who give us great counsel. So it's a cool lodge, and it's a cool time to be an AW Mason. So I hope we can share our experience and our love for the craft and this lodge, and of course George Washington with the brothers who come out and support us in February. So looking forward to it, and I hope to see everybody soon.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. So, yeah, I'm super glad we had this episode. It was hard to narrow this down because we could go deep dive in history. We could go deep dive in the building and what's inside, which that in itself is certainly worth traveling into if you're a Mason and haven't been in that building before. Hit up a tour, especially if you're in town for any of those events, and then of course to have the historic events that you guys are holding. Again, kudos to you guys for orchestrating this. It will be over soon. You will breathe soon. It'll be okay. Push through it. It'll happen. Just let it happen. Let it go. But I did. I learned some things tonight. Learned that all about the history of Shooter's Hill. That was really fascinating. Also learned George Washington was a Freemason. So, you guys keep that and put that in your minute books, because that's certainly worth writing down. This has been great. I want to thank you all for being with us tonight. I want to thank you all for watching, and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.